Amanda, and I am back. I know it's been a little while. I've taken a couple months off, but I had to pick up an extra day of work for one of my coworkers' maternity leaves, and that has left me completely exhausted and just, I haven't had a lot of time to read, and when I did have time, I didn't really feel like making a video. So I am back and I'm motivated. I'm going to do my March wrap up today, and I know it's May, but I'm going to try to get caught up with everything that I've read since I've been gone. So I have all of the books that I read in March in my little basket, and I had needed to make this video just so I could empty out my basket and start putting the May books in. So here we go. The first one I have is The Enchanted by Renee Dunfeld. I read this in March. I really loved this book. It is a book about a death row inmate and an old stone prison, and there's so much going on in this book. It's hard to explain, but it was excellent and totally recommended. It's pretty short, and it definitely makes you think about different things, especially with the death penalty, which was very interesting because I was glued to the whole Jodi Arias trial. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's in Arizona. A woman that killed her boyfriend, and she was just found guilty of first degree murder, and then tried for the death penalty and had a hung jury, and retried and had a hung jury with one juror that voted against it, and now she has natural life in prison. So it's just really was in the forefront of my mind for a while, just with that, and I still don't really know what I feel about it. This book was great because it presented kind of the good and the bad about it, and really just the author let you make up your mind about it. So totally recommended. I believe I gave this 4 out of 5 stars and would definitely recommend this one. I also decided to pick up the Pretty Little Liars book, first book of the series by Sarah Shepard. I saw, I think, the first 2 or 3 episodes of the television show on Netflix last year because I was curious, and so this book was not a surprise to me at all. It really went with the show, but I know as the books progressed, the show and the books moved away from each other and they weren't the same. But it's about a group of friends, and one of them disappears, and there's a bunch of secrets and lies, and it was pretty good. I kind of felt like I was reading an episode of 90210 from the 90s. Just reminded me of that because it's kind of edgy. The teenagers are very mature for their age and doing things that I would hope my children won't do when they're teenagers, but it was enjoyable. Definitely a guilty pleasure kind of read, and I'm excited to read the rest of the series. And I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The book that took up the bulk of my month was 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I read this with Janie at the Bookworms Buddy. She has a group on Goodreads, and they all read it together. It is a huge book. I believe it's over 800 pages, but it was well worth the time put into it. It was an amazing story. It's a time travel book where the man in the book goes back in time. Every time he goes back, he ends up, I believe, in 1958, and so he decides to wait until 1963 so he can stop the Kennedy assassination. And it is just fascinating to me. And I really found myself doing a lot of Googling of different characters that were in the book that were real life people, and a lot of conspiracies that I had no idea about. I wasn't born at this point in time, so I have only heard about it secondhand from my parents, and it was just amazing. I felt like I was in the 60s. I now feel like I know what it was like to live in the 60s just because Stephen King is so good at taking you there. So, great book. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars just because at some points it did get a little bit long-winded, but not as much as some of the other books I've read by him. It is one of my favorites. I liked it a lot. I also read The Secret Life of C.C. Wilkes by Diane Chamberlain. This was a buddy read with Janie at the Bookworms Buddy, and this was a great story. It's about a woman who has a past, and her family really has no idea about her past. And I don't remember a whole lot about this book because it was so long since I've read it, but I know I liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, I think. And I really like Diane Chamberlain's writing, and I have several of her other books and can't wait to pick them up. I also read Lacey I by Jessica Treadway. I won this in a Goodreads giveaway and was very happy that I did because this book was really good. It is about a husband and wife, and they are one night brutally beaten in their bed. The husband dies, and the wife has to deal with that because her daughter's boyfriend has been implicated in the crime. And the whole time you're wondering what really happened, and she doesn't have a lot of memories about what happened that night. It's just a really thought-provoking and very interesting story. I wouldn't say it had a major twist, but it definitely built suspense and kept me interested. Probably one of my favorites of the month, and I haven't seen this anywhere else, but if you do find it, I believe it just came out. It came out March 10th. If you do come across it, I would recommend it if you're a fan of psychological thrillers and things like that. Another one of my favorite books of the month was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This I read for the A to Z challenge, which I am failing miserably at, but I'm still trying to slowly work my way through those books. Anyway, this book is amazing. I know that probably everyone knows what this book is about because it has been so popular, and I just heard there is a movie coming out that is directed by Steven Spielberg, which makes me so excited because I could not imagine how awesome a movie would be about this story. It's about a virtual reality world, and there's a contest, and it's just another one that really makes you think because it's kind of scary because we are kind of headed in that direction where people aren't socializing anymore. People aren't really feeling the need to talk to other people. They're kind of just virtually talking to other people, but in real life, the communication and the social skills are getting a little bit lacking. So it's just amazing. There was only one thing that really frustrated me in this book, and it was just a bit of a rant that went on by the author. It felt like a rant to me. And it was about the political state of our country right now, and kind of an attack against God and Christians and all kinds of stuff that I just felt like was just totally unnecessary and would have been so much. It would have been a 5-star book 100% for me if that 2 pages were not in the book, and it didn't even fit with the story to me. But other than that, it was great, and I would absolutely recommend it. I also read If I Fall, If I Die by Michael Christie. I received this from Blogging for Books in exchange for an honest review, and I was looking forward to this. It's about a boy, I believe he's about 10 years old. He lives with his mother, who is a severe agoraphobic, and she has not really left the house since he was little. He doesn't really remember ever being outside. He calls it inside and outside. They have their house arranged by country, and there's just, it's very isolated. One day he decides to go outside and he meets a boy, and it just continues on. I loved some parts of this book, and other parts I just felt were like another story. There's a whole nother plot that develops throughout the story that just made no sense to me. I would have loved if they would have just focused on the agoraphobic aspect of it and kept it at that. But it was an interesting story. I loved the points of view that you got from the boy's mother. I don't remember the boy's name. Will. His mother you get to hear from sometimes, and you get to see how she got to the point she's at now. Sometimes fear that I am in danger of becoming an agoraphobic because I don't always love being around people, and I do love being at home. So I have to force myself to get out sometimes. I didn't love it, and I really didn't like the writing style. I found the writing style to be almost too, like he was trying too hard. It was like a prose kind of poetic type of writing style that I just am not a fan of. And I think a lot of people would love that, but I personally prefer a straightforward, get to the point kind of writing style that I don't have to focus on too much as I'm reading. But overall, it was a decent story. The last book I have that I read was The Stranger by Harlan Coben, and I have it like this because I read it from NetGalley. I got it from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review, and I found it to be very good. It's about a stranger who goes around and tells other people secrets and demands money from them to keep the secrets or things like that. It was just really fascinating. It was the second Harlan Coben book that I've read, and I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but since it's been about 2 months since I've read it, I've already forgotten some major parts of the story, so it really didn't stick with me. And if a story doesn't stick with me, that means it didn't leave that much of an impression on me. But I did enjoy it for what it was, and I would recommend it. It just came out. I believe that's all of the books that I read in March. I hope it is. I'm going to be back with my April wrap-up. I also would like to do a little haul that I have and try to get caught up with my videos. I promised weekly wrap-ups months ago, and that has not happened. I apologize for that. But summer is coming, and I don't work in the summer, so I'm hoping to get a lot more reading done, a lot more filming done, and be a little less stressed out. But thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.